Hi, and welcome to this Feature Friday. My name is Guy Bartram. I'm Director of Marketing for our cloud service providers in VMware by Broadcom. And today I'm joined by Girish. Welcome back, Girish. Why don't you just say hi and explain what you do for folks?
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Guy. I really appreciate it. As always, very, very productive to have these kind of sessions with you. So, hi everyone. This is Girish Manmarkar. I'm one of the product manager based out of Palo Alto, focusing on cloud solution providers. We will talk about, how you as a CSP or how you as a customer can deliver AI as a service powered by VMware Private AI and IBM Watson AI as a platform.
Yeah, and you've been working with this solution, well, with IBM for quite a few years, haven't you, Girish?
Yeah, I think, we started this as kind of a special project because if you are aware about WatsonX capability that IBM Cloud has, it has everything running on IBM Cloud as a service. The main efforts for us to really bring that service to an on-prem where we can have an hybrid model delivered to our customers or providers, or even providers can look at this as a service that they can deliver, especially in EMEA or outside America, is where the sovereignty of the data and data sovereign cloud are key components of the architecture or compliance. This particular fits really well. And that was the intention of one of the use cases to really bring this particular capability from IBM Cloud to an on-prem powered by VMware Private AI or VMware Cloud Foundation that we will talk.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's several different ways that this can be kind of used by CSPs. One, they can, do this, which is kind of like the all-encompassing cloud foundation, private AI, IBM WatsonX, on-prem. They could also use IBM X in IBM and connect that through to their existing kind of private AI. Is that right?
Absolutely. I think, we'll talk in the flow of this presentation, but you said it right. I think that's the intention of it, right? Because you all know, getting a GPU and the lead time to GPUs being
Mm.
delivered to you has its own impact on, even if your business is requiring you to deliver the AI services, you may not have GPUs. So what do you do? That's where the hybrid cloud model kind of comes into the picture that we will talk a little bit more in detail.
Okay, let's dive into it.
Perfect. So I think I'm just going to go give a little bit of prime color on, overall VMware Private AI. And I think you probably have seen these slides a lot of times. So I'll just skip through them very, very quickly. But, when we started journey for computers, it was PC apps kind of moved into web apps. Now mobile and smart mobile popped up, and then everybody moved into the mobile apps. And now everyone is talking about AI apps essentially to really drive business outcomes based on various type of applications being developed and kind of looked at by various verticals. So I think if you look at it, it's more of generative AI for various verticals. Could be a marketing, could be customer operations, could be supply chain, based on simple large language models. We don't need to really think about what I'm prompting, what I'm putting into the system is accurate. My generative AI system or application will make a sense out of it and give me the suggestions and give me the output. So we want to make it as easy as possible, where all these various components are stitched together through various APIs and various components that we will talk about. So rule of thumb, how can we make it more simple? Because there is a market. There is a market like, as per McKinsey's report, it's about $4.4 trillion type of, market opportunity for us.
Yep. And this is obviously, the more you use to train the LLMs with data that is pertinent to your business, the more accurate it's going to be. And as you say, these models are getting better and better to the point when, the models can actually work out a lot of stuff for themselves, making, much easier than it's ever been before to kind of generate AI applications.
Yeah, yeah. I think there are some curated models that are there to jumpstart your
Mm.
journey, and then basically train those models. So let us talk a little bit more about it. As I said just a few minutes ago about various verticals are applicable, and sky is the limit. Depending on what use case you may have energy use case, you may have, media or entertainment type of, use case. Definitely finance is a key aspects of it. It's like, fraud detection, personalized banking, investment insights. Even in the US, it's 401k rebalancing. Can that be done by AI? Depending on my appetite of risk versus, conservative approach and things like that. Very, very easily. And I can get a lot of inputs into the system, and various virtual assistants can help me make the decision in the right way. Again, challenges we talked about multiple times. I'm not going to go through all of them, but again, it's about privacy of the data, access, and definitely how can I secure my data? How can I have my data locality and still deliver what my business is looking for? When you talk about these kind of challenges, generative or any applications in a way, when we talk about privacy, we'll talk about various choices, costs, and performance and compliance, how they are kind of tied to each other. You cannot just do only one. You got to do all of them together in a right balanced way. So I think I'm just going to go a little bit more detailed because we're going to talk about IBM. And that's what focus is about this particular session, which allows me to really talk about, hey, what's the reference architecture that VMware Private has, right? So we have at the infrastructure level, VMware Cloud Foundation. Again, various features at the vSphere level being enabled and we will be consumed by various distributions like Kuflow or maybe coming from NVIDIA Nemo. We are looking at more options of how IBM WatsonX AI as a platform can consume those features as we kind of embark onto the journey of enabling our providers with multiple options when it comes to an AI as a use case. Again, working with Hugging Face with various models that we are talking about that we can bring it to the table for our CSP to deliver various services to the end customers. So what we are talking about today is private AI with IBM. Definitely, as I said at the beginning of this session, is we want to bring IBM WatsonX AI as a service to an on-premise, right? Where we can provide same wide choice of LLMs, help customer build various type of architectures in the cloud, on-premise, or hybrid, where they can definitely build and deploy a platform which is secure, has easy management. No one wants to have a change. And we are making sure that at infrastructure level, that particular seamless experience is delivered via VMware Cloud Foundation on top of WatsonX AI.
Got it.
So again, choice of options, as a guy earlier said, on premise or in the cloud, depending on how you really slice and dice your requirements. You may have a compute farm in your own data center, but you do not have a GPUs. What do? You can go to IBM Cloud, where you can consume that as a service, where you need to train your model, you need to fine tune your model, bring that model on your on-prem, and then essentially make it available to your business. And maybe, you can do a little bit of a tweaking around it for your business where GPUs are not required. If you have GPUs, if you are a sovereign cloud type of environment, if you are sovereign nation, you don't want to go outside of your data center or region, everything can be built as long as you have GPUs as an on-prem solution very, very easily and quickly. So at the higher level, this is a hybrid cloud ready architecture. If you look at it on the IBM cloud side right here, it is talking about WatsonX AI, data governance. These are the various components of that particular platform that we'll talk a little bit more in detail, right? Today available on IBM Cloud as a service globally that can be leveraged. And then if you look at on the other side, it's a VMware on-premise environment. We are kind of bringing that stack on-prem. Typically, we used IBM Cloud Satellite. Typically, it's like a gateway. It allows me to really bring all these services which are running in an IBM Cloud to an on-prem. And we'll talk more about it, what it really means to us in this particular scenario.
Yeah, that's going to be important. That's going to be something that we're going to need to dive into and understand really about the connectivity there and how that connectivity operates, especially in environments that want to be kind of isolated once they've pulled down the binaries.
Absolutely. And I think IBM Cloud Satellite is an optional component. You can use it, you can make a use of it, and then after that, you can just disconnect it and you are good. It's all about time to market, how quickly you want to build your environment based on a lot of automations delivered by IBM Cloud Satellite. And then on top of that, today, WatsonX AI is more like a CLI-based deployment and data as well. And those components that we talked about. Governance has been just released, and we will bring it that also on-prem as a part of the next iteration of this particular architecture or solution. So this is proven platform at the infrastructure level that we all know. VMware Cloud Foundation made up of vSphere, vSAN, NSX, and definitely GPUs. We don't need GPUs for the management domain. GPUs are required only for the workload domain where I'm going to run AI services and various components of it, right? So that's where we are optimizing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Girish, does this, I'm just looking at the difference here between like WatsonX in IBM Cloud and versus on-prem. Obviously, the AI assistance there is a kind of a big differentiator. Can you just tell us a little bit about, what value do they bring over and above, the rest of the portfolio of
Yeah.
WatsonX?
Very nice question, actually. So AI assistance is basically, as one of the use cases that sits on top of WatsonX AI as a platform. Take an example of WatsonX code assistance, right? So if I have typically COBOL application, and if I wanted to really translate that code into, take an example of Java, right? Can I do that based on automation? So I will feed my code to the code assistance and say, okay, I want to get a Java code equivalent, and can I get going really, really quickly? It may not be 100% there, but actually delivers to you really nice code where you can fine tune it. In fact, the code assistance will give you an ability to fine tune that Java code rather than rewriting the entire application by yourself, which is time consuming. So a lot
Yeah.
of
Okay.
customers are asking that, hey, how can I move away from my legacy applications to either Java or Ansible and things like that? So that's where that code assistance comes into the picture. WatsonX assistance is just like your chat bot per se, if you want to call it that way. There are various applications that they sit on top of AI that can be leveraged as is, or that can be fine-tuned as per the specific use case, where you have your own data, but the framework is there, and that framework will be tuned to deliver the business outcomes as per your requirements.
Got it.
So let's go a little bit more in detail. As I said, it's a private AI enabled through VMware Cloud Foundation. Today, if you look at the stack, we have WatsonX as a platform. Today, it is tightly coupled with Red Hat OpenShift for a good reason that we all know. But definitely, it runs on a VMware Cloud Foundation supported by NFS vSAN block. Today, recommendation from WatsonX is avoid using NFS for non-production just from the performance point of view. So definitely vSAN by default gives you right level of performance. And as I said, if you wanted to build, develop, test, deploy any of these applications from idea to ideation to the actual productionalizing your applications, you can do everything on-prem, or you can do part and pieces of it on-prem as well as onto IBM Cloud if you don't have the GPUs. And all otherwise, if you want to use and leverage more of those IBM Cloud services for your AI needs.
And Girish, just looking at his stack here, so obviously there's a number of components there that would need to be supported by the service provider. Is there a sort of clear line of designation here between the cloud foundation infrastructure that VMware would provide third line for, and Red Hat? How's the Red Hat piece supported versus the WatsonX? WatsonX, obviously IBM, I'm assuming would support that. What about the Red Hat piece?
Yeah, so we already have been working with Red Hat on just a Red Hat on VCF as a tested validated solution,
Mhm.
VMware validated solution. And recently we were able to release VCF 5.1 with Red Hat OpenShift 4.1.3 release of it. So there is a good amount of cadence between the Red Hat OpenShift team and VMware Cloud Foundation team as well on a concurrent basis. Again, when we talk about the WatsonX AI as a solution on top of it, we are still working on various go-to-market and selling motions between VMware by Broadcom as well as IBM, and you will hear more and more. But that doesn't stop you as a CSP. You can buy, you will buy VCF anyway from VMware as
Mhm.
under CSP contract, and you have an option to really go and buy WatsonX AI plus OpenShift from IBM directly.
All right.
And
Okay.
go in a two-step fashion. We are looking at futuristically, like can we and how can we give an easy button from selling perspective, from buying perspective, from a product experience perspective. So those are all discussions are happening, and we will hear more and more about it. But today, my point of view, this is all GA. Watson AI on-prem is GA. Red Hat OpenShift on VCF is tested, validated, which is GA. VCF is GA version, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So it doesn't stop you from moving forward and building a service for your customers actually.
Sure.
The key, generative AI tasks kind of implemented or kind of use cases implemented typically that we have seen. Typically what we say is a RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, so based on documents or dynamic content. For example, like, if I have an engineering org or support organization, and they have a huge amount of data in terms of various customer filing the requests, issues, and the resolutions delivered to them. So we have that data. Can I use a rack type of use case where it is going to help not only for the customer responses, but also for my customer support engineers to really quickly get some answers back to the customer, as an example, right? It can go
Mhm.
into the repository of your documents, dynamic contents, like a chatbot, and pull the right responses back to a question that may have been asked by a customer. And can that be automated as well to some extent? And so on and so forth. Like I talked about content generation, we talked about entity recognition, identifying exact, essential information from an unstructured text, kind of, helping audit acceleration for a lot of customers, Security and Exchange Commission 10K filing or extracting that information and giving back to the auditors or insight extraction, various classification that you can think about, right? So a lot of use cases that we have seen and really used by a lot of customers, especially also into, finance or, insurance companies, really, really useful. They have huge amount of data. They have a
Yeah.
huge amount of security concerns. So this is where everything on-prem really works well and really brings the efficiency in the business as an outcome for it. So let us look at it. How does the platform looks like, which is highly scalable, which will help accelerate the overall, consumption of it, and also the business outcomes, whether it's a prompting or with a prompt tuning and fine tuning of your models, and also if you wanted to do a training of a model from the scratch as well, right? So components like data, which allows you to, bring your data anywhere. It could be in a IBM cloud environment. It could be in your on-prem environment if you have deployed everything on-prem. AI will definitely help you train, validate, tune, and of course, deploy various foundational models. Today, WatsonX AI supports only the foundational models or curated models that they have. But in next few months, what I've heard from IBM, that they are allowing bring your own model. Maybe if you have open source model that you want to bring it, train, validate, tune, fine tune, and deploy that model for your business use case, right? So those are the type of things that are coming. And as I said, governance definitely is a key aspects of it, which was released, I think, a couple of weeks ago as an on-prem solution. So all these kind of pieces which were running really well as a business, as a service on IBM Cloud are now available, everything on-prem with
Just
VCF. Sorry,
Yeah, I just want to check the governance piece on the slide with the on-prem diagram that wasn't included. Is that now available? Because that's really important when you start running production AI applications, that you have this workflow governance in place.
yeah. I think it was just announced a couple of weeks ago and it went GA. So yes, data and governance, all on-prem versions are available now.
Great. I mean, that's one of the key things. I think when you're, working with customers, looking at this, there's one side of this which is delivering the infrastructure and the service, and then there's the other side of it for service providers, which is, the actual execution of the AI application. And the more obviously people get reliant on very complex AI applications, the more
Mhm.
vulnerable they are to issues that may occur. And having that governance control over it is critical when you're looking at production AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of summed up really well. So that is what we were waiting on, and now it is there. So
Yeah,
look for more
cool.
updates coming from us as well as we recalibrate our architecture and overall our approach as and when they are releasing various WatsonX components as an on-prem solutions.
Sure.
So again, as I said a couple of times already, proprietary IBM models are there, like Granite Foundation models, well-trained, enterprise focus, ready to go. If you want, you can have your own way of curating them or fine-tuning them. Open source, Hugging Faces, some of them they're available as of today that I can download, kind of curated models from IBM side. And third party are coming soon, like Llama 2 or Starcoder, and more coming soon by hopefully in next few months.
Okay.
So from learning perspective, definitely go ahead, look at the we did a release, a launch blog, and few more architectural sites that are coming up. As I said, VMware Private AI on OpenShift has been already validated, tested, and kind of, released last month, since it's a March 1st for us. So it was released last month. And we are working on a jointly release paper with IBM that we just had started work. We have the structure in place. We just want to make sure that we go through the legal aspects of approval and bringing all the team members together. So expecting next few months, that particular reference architecture as well as how to deploy, kind of, deployment guide coming out soon as well.
Look for the links down below, folks, be in the description.
Now let me just switch gear and see if I can move to a demo. So what we just talked, it's all PowerPoint. Now I'm going to show you how it really works and how it looks like. So it's seeing is believing and trying is convincing. So let us go and see if we are convincing. We are able to convince you by showing it to you how it really works. Let me say, okay. So what you look here at the moment is all my VMware Cloud Foundation. What I'm accessing is actually through the vSphere client running, of course, various virtual machines. So for control planes, I don't need to have GPUs. So I do not have any GPUs enabled. So I have about 6 of them. It is a little bit resource hungry at the moment because we want to make sure that, we are able to move forward. So each virtual machine, which is Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8.8 or 8.x version that was deployed when we stood this thing up, 16 by 64 is what we have allocated for these control planes, and which of them, there are 6 of them. And then for the worker nodes, again, we were going back and forth so that the numbering is off, but they are basically, the virtual machines, again, 16 by 64, and, enough disk space. Disk space is not an issue. So we allocated enough disk space. And then we have enabled GPUs. So in this particular environment, we were able to use a 140C, though the recommendation is 80 gig. But we were testing, validating the overall architecture performance was not our criteria. So we were able to give an okay by IBM, and we were able to test and validate the solution on VCF with OpenShift. So these are all Red Hat OpenShift virtual machines that were consumed by the IBM Cloud when we really deployed it as a satellite. So if you really look at it, it's a satellite. Location-wise, it's a satellite location. And I am using a Dallas location of IBM Cloud, but essentially deploying it everything as an on-prem. So if I look at my worker nodes, look at the IP address number 163. 164, and if I go back and look up here, I have a 163, the IP address here as well. So these are
Right.
the virtual machines being referred here by the satellite. So I just wanted to show that these are the virtual machines running on-prem, but how do I validate? How do I verify? There is a way to verify that my IP addresses are here, 163, 164. Let us go back quickly and see that I have my virtual machines running with the same IP addresses, which means that I'm able to connect my IBM Cloud account or access through the satellite to my on-prem cluster, right? If you look at it on the last column here, it is telling me that I'm running Red Hat OpenShift version 4.12. So all these worker nodes that I talked about are running a cluster of OpenShift version 4.12, and then the other numbers is there.
And is Girish, is the satellite an OpenShift function within OpenShift running as a sort of a workload that then connects through securely, TLS connection, etc.?
Yeah, very good question. Actually, it is not OpenShift. It is an independent product offerings from IBM, which allows them to really deploy a lot of other things or consume a lot of other things from the services point of view to an on-prem environment or to an in the other different clouds as well, right? So it's merely a gateway, right? So what I did actually when I deployed these Red Hat OpenShift VMs, I have to run some bunch of commands to really download one script. And that script will connect each and every node one after another to the IBM Cloud satellite. It has its own credentials, it has its own authentication and SSH keys and things like that. They are embedded. And that script will then say, okay, now I understand that the satellite is going to go and take control of it. And that's how it's going to go and say, okay, now I have it, I'll take care of it. Once you see that cluster as a satellite cluster, you can essentially deploy various components. So what we did is basically we were able to deploy here, if I show the nodes, these are the various control planes as well as, the worker nodes that you can see that were deployed. So normally, if I have to deploy OpenShift cluster, there are two methods, IPI and UPI. Mostly people use IPI. but still it takes about a day and a half to really deploy because a lot of prerequisites are there and a lot of steps are there that you have to run through, right? In this
Hmm.
scenario, what happened? I was required to deploy these virtual machines, which is simple, easy, being VMware environment. Deploy virtual machine, create a template, and then basically from template you deploy all these virtual machines, enable the GPUs, and then basically attach these hosts to my IBM cloud environment to the IBM satellite. I am done. And then from a cloud perspective, I can go here and say, hey, actually, you know what? I would like to deploy. So if I click here, it's my satellite. I can say location. From the location, I can say I would like to deploy the various components, and I can deploy those various components from here. So these are the various services that can be deployed. So we use this automation to deploy OpenShift cluster. It took about 2 hours to finish
Hmm.
everything.
Okay.
Very, very easy. I didn't have to do anything. I just fill in the blanks in few forms and I'm done.
And once this is deployed and done, can you could obviously leave the connection open, but is that something then, if you wanted to, you cut the connection, that would be okay?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
very good point. Very good point. I was almost missing on that part of it, right? So if you see here, I'm connected to cloud.ibm.com, which
Yeah.
means I'm connected. Now, if I switch into the next tab, it's a console-openshift.console.vmware.com. So I am running this console locally.
Locally. Yeah.
And this
Okay.
OpenShift cluster is managed locally without having to do anything with the satellite,
Great.
right?
Great.
And as I said, on top of that, we deploy, storage components, which is typically in any Kubernetes environment. And then you deploy WatsonX data and WatsonX on top of it, and then basically leverage few of those foundational models that you have. I'm going to go show you how the output looks like or how do I use it basically, right? So I'm going to go say, create a new asset. And then I'm going to say, I would like to run an experiment with foundational models. So when I do that, I have an option here. So, hey, I have this Granite model that I'm using, but let me see if I can have a look at other available models. So for me, these are the various models that are available to execute, right? So I can click on the model and I can get some more details about the model, what that model looks like, and all the history and the examples and what the use case of that particular model, right? So this is like, granted, I'm going to use this as a chatbot. So let us go and see if I can create a project which is already here. I can have a fine tuning of it with various parameters. Since we are short on time, I'm not going to I'm not going to do any customization here. I can try a simple prompt or I can go into the chat. Chat is where basically, you have a little bit more quick output that you can make a use out of it with some small things. So I can just say list. What do you want to say? You want me to say list landmarks of London?
Depends what the foundational model is trained on, right?
Yeah, it's all trained
Yeah.
on. So it's going to go and say what it looks like. So it's going to go give me all the details of various monuments, museums. So I don't really do anything, right? It is just giving me all the
And
data that I
that's
was.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. And that's deploying a foundational model. So, customers would want to kind of look at the foundational models, reuse them if they can, extend them, make their own custom models or use third-party models. And of course, there's the learning period here, right? So what you're looking
Mhm.
at now is the result of a foundation model that's being trained, but there would be a training period that you would have to run,
Yeah. I
which is
think
a
there are.
pretty intensive like GPU kind of operation as well, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of videos also available on YouTube from IBM that can be looked upon how you really help fine tune or learn a specific model, foundational model, and they will keep on adding more. So hopefully in
Right.
next video, I can cover how to really, fine tune a model and how really want to use the GPUs as well. So
Yeah, I
here,
think I mean that's more like, from my perspective, there's two types of service provider here. One who's going to deliver this as infrastructure as a service. This is private AI with WatsonX as a service and stand it up for the customer. And then the other
exactly.
who's going to provide services in the actual models.
Yes.
No, don't start on cricket, Girish. We're going to
Yeah.
have an argument.
So the point here is that the model was able to learn about World Cup winners until 2019 and not the recent one, what happened last year. And the
Sure.
winner
Yeah, it
was
needs to be retrained.
Australia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was not trained. So basically, you can fine tune it, you can retrain the model so that you can get the accurate and latest data, and then basically leverage it to
Yeah.
your business purpose.
Well, it
That's
obviously also, it stopped at England, which is obviously the only one that ever mattered, really. The rest of them
exactly,
irrelevant.
exactly. So hopefully, I think, this video is useful. Next video, we will try dig deep a little bit more into it as exactly how can you make a use of, the training model aspects of it. And, it's more about how you leverage WatsonX AI. But the
Okay.
point here I want to make is it is available today as an on-prem solution. If you are a CSP, you have an ability to deliver AI as a service powered by VMware Private AI or VMware Cloud Foundation with IBM WatsonX AI, data and governance. Everything is on-prem very, very easily and quickly.
Okay, great. Girish, thank you very much. I think, this is really, really important. I'd like to get Brian on the next one because I want to understand from the kind of, the partnership perspective of CSPs, kind of what relationship IBM would have in that respect with the CSPs themselves, and what type of service, kind of where is the kind of the boundary around the service for a CSP in terms of delivery. And we've talked today more about, what is available today, and we can drive into next time more the service aspect of it, which will be interesting for our partners as well.
Yep. Awesome.
Great. Girish, thank you very much. As usual, a pleasure to have you on, and thanks a lot for showing us around private AI with WatsonX.